right, welcome back, Linda. After
the intro.
I know. It's been such a long time.
Yeah. I know, right? I missed you guys, but I was watching.
Welcome
Great job
back.
as always. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching us right now, you surely know there's a difference here. There's a different energy here. And of course, Linda Alela is back. And tonight, she's back on a special day because tonight we're focusing on special needs, but not just the special needs of the people with special needs, but the people who look after them. Many times their cry goes silent. Their cries go unanswered. The plight, the pain, the struggle, the predicament of caregivers of people living with disabilities. We're now shining a focus on this very, very critical conversation and a part of our society that really needs support. Yeah. There's a lot of challenges that they face, mental health challenges, physical strain even, sometimes even physical injury. It comes with that. A great occupation, an honorable duty, but comes with a lot of sacrifice.
You know, I do Beyond the Limit. One of the shows that actually we have right here, our flagship shows that handles persons with disability and cases, you know, revolving around them. Well, sometimes the idea is to speak about the good things that they're doing in life despite their challenges. I am telling you, the numerous occurrences I have met with their caregivers and listened to their stories and listened to their difficulties. Whoever decided that we're going to handle this subject just did the perfect thing tonight. My name is Linda Alela.
Absolutely.
Good evening and welcome. I am George Maringa. Irene Chebiwot is on sign language interpretation tonight. Now, at one point or another, we have all had the chance to be a caregiver to a family, a friend in whichever magnitude. But tonight, we speak to the professionals who have devoted their lives to be able to take care of our friends, our relatives, and those who matter to us. Also, how do you treat these people? Do you treat them with disrespect, or do you hold them with high regard? Do you consider them family? Do you actually know what they do, or you're actually just interested to see your person walking in whichever form? Tonight, we invite you to join us as we also give you an opportunity to learn and perhaps give you more insight. We have the caregivers themselves in the premises, and they'll be joining us in the discussion. We invite you to chime in on X, formerly Twitter. His is at Muyakane, at Linda_Alela. I am at George Maringa_ across the socials. You can also post to at TV47 News. But before then, guys,
we have to check
highlight.
The world of news.
Absolutely. Highlight.
All right.
Absolutely. Great.
Tonight, the Senate Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing questions Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi regarding the proposed Adani JKIA deal. A family in Rongai is seeking justice after their child was struck by what appears to be a stray bullet, with police officers allegedly not being transparent in their investigations.
Pia kuna risasi imeingia darasani na ikagonga mtoto na ikatoboa mkono.
A motion to impeach Kericho Governor Eric Mutai has been formally submitted to the County Assembly, with MCAs accusing him of gross violations of the Constitution and breaches of both national and county laws.
We are broadcasting live from the broadcasting headquarters of TV47 on terrestrial platforms as well as website. You can scan the QR code at the bottom end of your screen to be able to catch more content on our website. As mentioned, Irene Chebiwot is on sign language interpretation tonight. I am George Maringa. Later on, the People's Court will be coming your way in just a short while with our esteemed guests who will be right here in the studio. Tonight, members of parliament have suspended the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport 30-year takeover deal by the Adani Group pending a special audit by the Auditor General Nancy Gathungu. The National Assembly's Public Investment Committee on Commercial Affairs and Energy directed the Kenya Airports Authority to forthwith stop the deal until a report is submitted to parliament. Take a look.
The national audit by the Auditor General Nancy Gathungu is complete.
It is the advice of this committee that because we are going to order for a special audit, that you don't do anything with Adani until this committee presents a report to Parliament. If you do it, it's up to you. Yes. Maybe Adani is here or being represented. So, and Parliament has told you that.
The development coming after National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi put KAA on the spot before the Public Debt and Privatization Committee, querying how Adani's proposal won the bid, which was approved in a record one day.
The bit that I find a bit very fast is, Adani submitted their report, their proposal in March, I guess March 1st. Then KAA cleared it on 1st. And it went to the Line State Department of Transport on 1st. That, to me, is a serious high-level efficiency.
MPs are opposed to the deal, saying it's akin to mortgaging the country after reports emerged Adani's tentacles have spread to the country's energy and health sectors, including the new Social Health Insurance Fund.
Waziri, I have known you. You are my good friend. Your head is very good and your brain is very good. Don't allow this kind of thing to continue in this country. This kind of thing of Adani, if you look at it, those of us who have some extra information not for here, this is a bad deal for Kenya.
Kenyans are not agreeing with what is happening. Do we even have a situation where we can just say this stop and we just stop the process and begin it afresh?
Mbadi, while defending the privately initiated proposal, says the deal is still at the negotiation stage and the government is welcome to new investors. A case challenging the Adani JKIA deal by the Law Society of Kenya and Kenya Human Rights Commission will be mentioned on October 8th. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for that. Legislators have now questioned the 104.8 billion contract on the Integrated Healthcare Information Technology System for the universal health coverage. The legislators have raised concerns on the involvement of a payroll limited, which they say is linked to the Adani Group, further disclosing that the deal was single-sourced. Elizabeth Atieno with more details on the report.
On the 20th of September 2024, the Ministry of Health, through the Department of Medical Services, issued a statement disclosing that a total of 104.8 billion Kenya shillings has been awarded to a consortium led by Safaricom PLC to support the implementation of the UHC blueprint for the implementation of an Integrated Healthcare Information Technology System, IHTS. The consortium includes global patient care digitization firm Payroll Limited and the enterprise technology firm Convergence Network Solutions Limited. But a keen focus has been shifted to their Payroll Limited as some legislators took to their socials to raise concerns on the involvement of the company and its alleged link to Adani Group.
These companies, the deal was struck before even they registered in this country as business entities. And if I may inform you, Safaricom, who are the lead in this consortium, have the least shareholding at 17%.
Kitutu Chache's South Member of Parliament Anthony Kibagendi, who is also a member of the Departmental Health Committee, has equally blown the whistle on the company, saying the deal was single-sourced, further questioning the credibility of the company.
And the PS has not been able, instead they went on, just like what we saw with the Kenya Airports Authority, to do what is called single sourcing with to companies that have never provided a social health authority system anywhere in the world.
According to the Ministry of Health, the Safaricom-led consortium will invest the full project cost and recover their investment over payments by monthly installments, which will commence from February 2025 based on the successful implementation of the project. Kibagendi now claims the said contract is a well-calculated plan to swindle Kenyans.
The social health authority is about to aid some foreign companies to swindle Kenyans, an amount totaling 104 billion Kenya shillings.
And although the ministry insists that the structure of the project will enable the ministry to roll out the IHTS system without incurring any upfront capital expenditure and operating expenditure, the legislature maintains the entire investment is shrouded in misery.
It is not clear who owns the procured system, how the consortium will recover its monies under the strategic partnership with the Ministry of Health.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Sigowet Ward MCA Kiprotich Rogoni has tabled a notice of motion seeking to impeach Kericho Governor Eric Mutai on the grounds of gross violation of the Constitution and other laws, gross violation of various national and county laws, abuse of office and gross misconduct. And as Mike Kagwongo reports, a total of 37 ward representatives are apparently in favor of the impeachment, despite the fact that the motion mover only needs 32 members to oust Governor Mutai.
Kericho Governor Eric Mutai is now next in line in facing the wrath of angry members of Kericho County Assembly regarding his performance since taking office 2 years ago. And just barely a month after the High Court suspended the Senate's decision to impeach the embattled Meru Governor Kawera Mwangaza, another notice of motion has been tabled against Governor Mutai of Kericho County. While moving the motion, Sigowet Ward MCA Kiprotich Rogoni accused Governor Mutai of gross violation of the Constitution and other laws, gross violation of various national and county laws, abuse of office and gross misconduct.
The governor has persistently used divisive and unbecoming language which undermines the office he holds, contrary to Section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012.
In the notice of this motion, I confirm to this House that it's true that we have the exhibits as well as the flash discs and the compact disc here with us.
With a total of 47 members of County Assembly in Kericho County, Rogani will only require 32 members' green light to send the county boss home, pending the Senate's hearing of the matter.
Tuko na signatures 37 in support of the motion. So only 10 hawajaweza kuweka sahihi yako kumaanisha wanamuunga mkono.
However, Kericho County Assembly Speaker Patrick Mutai ordered that the House convene on October 2nd to discuss the matter, in which the governor should be expected to appear for his personal defense. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike. A family of 13-year-old grade 6 students at Prime Junior School in Ongata Rongai is now calling upon relevant authorities to uncover the mystery surrounding the shooting of their kin. Peace Nasimiu was allegedly shot on 17th September while in the classroom. Samira Mohammed with the details.
Kasikia risasi kutoka The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched investigation into a shooting incident that injured a grade 6 student at Prime Junior School in Ongata Rongai. Peace Nasimiu, a 13-year-old girl, was shot on September 17th, coinciding with protests at the Multimedia University.
Kamuuliza ni ajali ya nini, akaniambia kuna risasi imeingia darasani na ikagonga mtoto na ikatoboa mkono.
According to Nasimiu, she was struck by a stray bullet while participating in a mathematics lesson. Nasimiu now claims that she had a loud blast and later a sharp pain on her right hand.
Hatujui pale ilitoka, lakini ilikuja ikatoboa mkono wangu, ikaingia na ikapita ikatoka, ikachimba hapo juu kwa dawati nilikuwa nimekalia.
According to Nasimiu's mathematics teacher, they had a loud bang followed by a cry, leading to a discovery of a bullet on the classroom's floor and blood oozing from the learner's wrist.
When we heard that blast, a sound of a blast, we all rushed towards the left side of the class, and the child was screaming very much. The other kids were also in panic mode. I was also in panic mode. I didn't know what to do. But before then, we collected something which I'll call a bullet because I saw it to look like a bullet. So I collected that bullet.
The injured pupil, who's due for her Kenya primary school education assessment next month, says that she's afraid she might miss setting her examination following the incident.
Nahisi vibaya kwa sababu nafai kukalia mtihani wangu wa KPSEA na siwezi kuandika kwa sababu ni mkono wangu wa kulia.
Nasimiu's mother is now calling upon relevant authorities to help them get justice and answers surrounding the mysterious shooting of her 13-year-old daughter. This is the alarming proximity to Rongai police station as heightening concerns among parents and community members regarding safety in the area.
Kile mtoto wangu amepata kufanyiwa ni cha kusikitisha sana.
These, as a section of human rights activists, have strongly condemned the alleged shooting and are now calling upon the Independent Policing Oversight Authority to expedite on the investigations and ensure that justice is served to the learner.
We are asking that IPOA immediately intervenes to investigate. We have the remains of the bullets that can be tracked or can be traced to the firearm that actually made the shots, and we are demanding justice for the family, justice for the girl.
Samira Mohammed for TV 47.
Thank you, Samira. How unfortunate. Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago, together with two other co-accused persons, appeared before the Nakuru Law Courts on Tuesday for a hearing of a case of their involvement in the Finland education program saga. The 26th witness appeared to testify against them, as Chichi Josephine now tells us.
The Finland education saga case continued Tuesday, with the 26th witness to appear on the dock being former Uasin Gishu Deputy Governor, Engineer John Bararot. In his testimony, Bararot revealed that once they took office, there were so many complaints about the trust fund and that they were forced to form a task force of 11 people to come up with both long and short-term solutions.
Because of the number of complaints and all this, that is when His Excellency the Governor saw it fit to form a task force of 11 people.
The former DG also revealing that they found out that a similar program had been started in Elgeyo Marakwet County, and that Uasin Gishu County began the program through the then Governor Jackson Mandago after signing an MOU with participants.
It was actually borrowed from what had been done in Elgeyo Marakwet, but with some modification.
The DG also revealed that a refund of funds had been made to the students who did not travel, which added up to a tune of 69 million shillings.
Finland it's around 15 million. 15 million. Canada is 70 million.
The program, according to Bararot, was largely a successful one, with a total of 823 students having applied and with 323 students having managed to travel to Finland and 61 to Canada. The hearing was adjourned to the 25th of September, where some of the 202 witnesses will testify. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Thank you, Chichi, for that report. When we wait to see the outcome of that saga, the Finland education saga involving the former governor, now Senator Jackson Mandago. Mount Kenya University has continued to stamp its authority as the fastest growing university in East and Central Africa. And as Joash Onsara reports, MKU Malindi is counting a day to be certified to offer maritime courses. Take a look.
At the heart of Malindi town, Kilifi County, Mount Kenya University continues to make advanced strides in academia. The institution started in 2012 to offer higher education training courses.
We have been growing over the years, increasing the number of students population and also the program that are offered.
Tangu niingie hapa nimeona mafanikio mengi sana. Mimi ni semester yangu ya mwisho hii nilikuwa namaliza na mwaka ujao nifanye graduation.
Thousands have graduated and are now contributing to the economy and the governance of various sectors.
Mount Kenya University Malindi campus has really grown. We looking at the statistics, the students' numbers have increased.
That as a campus, as a university, we have made an impact in this region. We don't just draw the students from those 3 counties, but we also draw students from the rest of the world because we have a distance learning mode of study as well, where the students can take their studies from anywhere in any part of this world.
After years of training several courses here at Mount Kenya University, the institution is set for the certification of training maritime-related courses on Thursday.
We have received a lot of inquiries from parents, prospective students as well. And what now we are waiting for is the certification on 26th September 2024. And we are set to welcome the new cohort after the certification.
The maritime courses will be crucial to locals who are passionate to work in the maritime sector. Joash Onsare, TV 47, Malindi Town, Kilifi County.
Thank you, Joash. Human rights activists gathered today at the office of the president, demanding justice for families affected during the anti-government demonstrations. And as Quinto Wafula reports, chaos erupted outside the gates when attempts to arrest activist Boniface Mwangi were unsuccessful.
This was the situation at the entrance of the office of the president at Harambee House. Human rights activists flooding this area calling for justice to be served for people who were abducted or killed during the anti-government demos.
Seen a lot of brutalization by the police, use of force against some of our members who came to this office, which is a public office, upon a confirmation of a meeting by the secretary of this office.
Attempts to arrest activist Boniface Mwangi here being made impossible by these activists who prevented police officers from doing so.
We are asking our government, if the police are upholding rule of law, why they come in mass and why they targeting me specifically. We came with the families with one agenda, asking for justice for the victims and for the disappeared and accountability. But we were met with brutality and violence by the police.
Activists have complained of what they called false sentiments from leaders in government, including stating that there were no cases of abduction, while promising to compensate the families which lost their loved ones.
Mtu anaweza shikwaje na polisi alafu yeye ndo bado anaenda missing na alishikwa na polisi na watu walimuona akishikwa. Zifanyika walai.
And we wanted to remind the head of state that those utterances that he has been giving in international media stations across the country, mentioning that he is not aware of the persons who were killed, that now he has the full list.
Affected families have also expressed their pain, calling on relevant authorities to look into their issues diligently and serve them with justice.
Tafuta kila mahali, hospitali, kwa police stations, mortuary. Nimeview mili mingi sana nikimtafuta na bado sijapata justice.
Tukiomba tu hiyo president wetu na hiyo justice itusikie tu, itusaidie. Tumeomba tu president wetu atusikilie huruma, atuangalie na macho ya huruma.
Quinto Wafula, TV 47, Nairobi.
To matters Hustler Fund, the government has injected an additional 3 billion shillings to the Hustler Fund despite almost a third of the already disbursed funds being defaulted. MSME and Cooperative Development CS Wycliffe Oparanya now says service providers and avenues of borrowing are devising new ways of getting back the defaulted funds in a series of changes he plans to pursue within the State Department. Take a look.
About 14 million Kenyans are members of one or more cooperatives, pushing up the net base of the movement to more than 1 trillion Kenyan shillings and employing 500,000 Kenyans directly.
The government regards the cooperative movement as a fundamental and transformative pathway to formalizing the largely informed small business sector, as well as broadening financial inclusion. Apart from talking about cooperatives, I have to talk about the other side, because I know the Hustler Fund is at the heart of the president.
While hinting at a shake-up, Oparanya says that service providers such as Safaricom, who act as a platform for borrowing, will soon be launching strategies to close in on defaulters as the fund continues to get monetary injections from the government.
That's what the fund was meant to achieve. And that's why the borrowing was started at 500. And people thought that is a token, a political token, because you had voted for Kenya Kwanza.
So far, the government has lent out 57 billion shillings, of which 44 billion shillings has been repaid.
If there are no frameworks in any institution, financial institution, then what means that there will be loopholes?
Discussing with Safaricom to make sure that those who borrowed at least pay back. Of course, before I used to say don't pay, but now I'm saying pay. I'm now saying pay. It will help other Kenyans. It will help other Kenyans. But in consultation with the service providers, we are coming out with other innovations to make sure that those who have borrowed money just pay back.
From this, a whopping 13 billion shillings remains in limbo. The number of borrowers as well seems to be stagnating at 22 million individuals. This as the CS highlighted the poor saving culture for MSMEs, which is exacerbated by poor regulations, opening up the cooperative movement to corruption and embezzlement. Hibak Said for TV 47.
Sports News brought to you by Maybet. Join Maybet leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako, chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybet. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia.
Let's get sporty. Siaya Skating Club is preparing for the upcoming East Africa Games, which will be held in Arusha, Tanzania. The community club is fresh from shining in Entebbe, Uganda, and also from a podium finish at the recent national championships in Nakuru. Tony Kwalanda tells us why they are smiling all the way to the bank. Take a look.
Expensive skating equipment has been the main challenge facing one of Nyanza region's growing clubs. Home to over 80 boys and girls aged under 15 years, Siaya Skating Club has earned a place amongst the top in the country. Founded in 2021, the community-based club has dominated competitions internationally and nationally. They will be the team to beat in the upcoming East Africa Games in Arusha, Tanzania. They boast of a podium finish in the recent national championships in Nakuru and also participated in a regional tournament in Entebbe, Uganda.
Skating has been perceived as an urban center or a high-end sport, so I thought it wise that I would introduce this game in the rural areas. And by doing so, we have seen the children from Siaya finish at the podium in national and in international activities.
Siaya Skating Club aims at making the sport accessible to children who train on Saturdays and Sundays along Opoda Road in Bondo.
The skating equipments are very expensive. A good skate shoe would go for around 50,000 Kenya shillings. That is a speed boot. What we are currently using are, let's say, imitations that we get from China, which most of the kids can also not afford because of their prices.
Half of their current challenges will be solved by the 500,000 shillings they won after bagging the Nyanza region Tujiamini Gold Award.
Tujiamini in a nutshell is a groundbreaking initiative that is looking to support talents and sports with a budget to over 2 million monthly.
They plan to get competition shoes and skating suits as they scale the heights in the sport. Tony Kwalanda, TV47 Sport.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets. Join Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako, chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, inavutia.
It is exactly 30 minutes past the hour. We thank you for staying with the Daily Report. That is where we wind up the news segment for tonight. Up next is the People's Court, and tonight we look at caregivers' silent mental strain. On sign language interpretation has been Irene Chebiwot. I am George Maringa. Joining me on set shortly will be Victor Muyakane and Linda Alela, as well as our panel of guests who are here to be able to discuss that very important topic. Keep your feedback coming. We're back in a short while.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
You're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. It is exactly 41 minutes past the hour. We thank you for staying with the Daily Report. Time now for the People's Court. Even as tonight, we look at a matter that is at the heart of our well-being, especially for our friends and our loved ones, the caregivers' silent mental strain. Now, tonight, we've brought you psychologists as well as caregivers themselves to be able to debunk what exactly they go through, how they do it, what motivates them, and we shall also be able to look at the ways in which to take care of our family members and, of course, to be able to understand what exactly they do. You may often be seeing them at home, dressed up in a different manner, or being able to take care of your family members or friends. But do you actually understand what they do? Do you understand what your family member or your friend needs to have done to them? Welcome. We are bringing you this conversation. I am joined by Victor Muyakane and Linda Alela. But before we cross over to the two guys over there, I want to introduce you to my guests, my panelists who are on my right. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. We always say right here in the People's Court, the men hardly give the visas to the ladies to come to the show, but tonight we are grateful that you're here and we thank you for joining us. And I'll allow you actually to be able, in just a minute maximum, introduce yourself and what you do, and I'll start with you.
My name is Martha Wanjao. I am the founder of Otugi Angels, which is a community of persons living with disabilities. We are in rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration, and also resocialization. Yeah.
Welcome to the studio.
And our main focus is maximizing self-reliance of persons with disabilities.
Self-reliance. Yes. Indeed, we shall be getting to know self-care. Yeah. We shall be getting to know what exactly that means. And you, ma'am?
Caregiver and as well a palliative care nurse. I have been in this for about 10 years, and it's a thank you to be here today. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm so positive and I'm so happy even for thinking about the caregivers, and we're happy to discuss this. Thank you.
Brilliant. And to you, ma'am?
Hello, I'm Diana Wanchiko Masharia. I'm a registered nurse with 6 years of experience. I mostly work with patients who have gone through trauma, maybe spinal injuries, amputations, and any other injury. I'm happy to be here to discuss about the challenges that most of the caregivers usually go through after they are discharged from the hospital. Yeah.
Indeed. Lastly, but not least.
Hello, my name is Martha Mumbua. I'm a coach, qualified coach, football, soccer. I live in Ongata Rongai, and I do coach deaf ladies, even men, but I'm based on ladies. Yeah.
Thank you for traveling all the way, and thank you for joining us, ladies. We shall be coming to have the discussion further, but now I want to throw it to Victor and Linda to be able to tell us whom they have on the expert panel. Victor.
All right, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're used to watching this show, no doubt you missed the appearance of Linda Alela. So welcome back.
Maybe I need to introduce myself afresh.
You
might need to for new viewers who are just joining us.
Well, as you say, it's Linda Alela. I'm part and parcel of this team of the People's Court.
Yes. Karibu sana.
Asante.
After introducing her, allow me to introduce the others.
Sure.
Close to you is Mr. Alfred Weku. He is a consultant psychologist, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what you do and where you actually practice.
Okay, Weku is a consultant psychologist. I work for Luton Hospital. Of course, I also consult in other hospitals, but I'm here to represent Luton, a hospital which is along Ngong Road. I deal with children, adolescents, and what we call geriatric counseling. That is the elderly, how they should be taken care of. And that is where we meet people with disability, especially the elderly and the caregivers. Thank you.
Karibu sana, Mr. Weku. Karibu sana. Right, now, next to him are a gentleman and a lady. They say ladies first, but someone else says ladies first, men before. I don't know how that mathematics
I am here
works.
to fight for the ladies. Winnie should go fast. Winnie must go fast, you know. Winnie must go fast.
So how about you tell us, Winnie, karibu sana. Talk to us a little bit about what you do, where you do it, and why you do it, please.
Okay, officially, Winfred Wairimu Mbogwa,
referred as Winnie. I work for the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. I'm in charge of the Autism Developmental Disabilities Program, where we engage mostly with caregivers, because this program came about due to the fact that caregivers went out there, they are being left behind. But I'm here representing the council on behalf of the government, because we are a government agency. Been in this field for 15 years, passionate, and I think a caregiver.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
And last but definitely not least, Mr. Langat, Karibu, please tell us who you are, what you do, where you do it, and why.
All right. Mika Langat, psychological counselor. I'm here today on behalf of Revive to Thrive Counseling Center. And personally, I'm a storyteller. So I have 3 passions: counseling, storytelling, and copywriting. But for purposes of today, I would like to amplify the counseling and storytelling part.
Karibu sana, Mr. Langat. Thank you so much. Now, clearly, the stage has been set. The subject matter is known to all of us. I mean, no doubt, Linda, all of us in our lives have encountered or even live with people who are actually living with disabilities. And at one point or another, we need to, to look after them, because they do require perhaps a different approach in things, and sometimes they do require the very same approach as everyone else. Clearly, everyone at home and everyone who's watching us, you have interacted with this subject, which is why we are asking you to contribute to this conversation by sending in your feedback. The SMS line should be on your screen, and later on our producers will put the WhatsApp number also on our screen to allow you to send in your feedback so that we can be able to answer your questions, should you have any, to receive your comments and share them, should you share them, and also if you have any observations or concerns, we'd be happy to consider those. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the conversation is officially open. Linda, who do you want to begin with today?
I don't know. I know I'm supposed to begin from this end, but George, if you allow me, we're talking about caregivers. And you know, some of them are even saying that I am experienced. I have done this for 10 years. For 10 years, handling someone who's experiencing difficulties and transferring the difficulties to you. You know, you'd almost get yourself asking, hey, you are now considering yourself an experienced person in this matter, and then it's actually being considered a field. But the reason why I want to go all the way to that and the other end and speak to Martha is
Which Martha? We have 2 of them.
Oh, we have 2 Martha.
Soccer coach.
Martha Otugi.
Of Otugi Angels.
Yes, of Otugi Angels, you know. My question is as simple as this. We all understand the difficulties that come along with, you know, caregiving. But Martha has the Otugi Angels, and therefore she's picking kids who are not hers. She's dealing with persons that, you know, she just picked from somewhere, and, you know, she just decided to take care of.
Sounds like a powerful story.
You know, and then you are curious, why would someone want to get this kind of burden to themselves?
Please, enlighten us.
Even a burden in the first place.
You know?
Yes, but I would love to say that God has his own ways. And nobody has been born through mistakes. Everybody was planned with, it is within God's plan that everyone is born. So even persons with disability are born within God's purpose. And I realized that there's a lot that they have that people don't realize. So I capitalized in getting the best out of everybody. So if you're a child who has been abandoned because of disability, I am ready to get the best out of you. If it is a child who is lost, every child thrives in the family. And so I'll try as much as possible to trace the family and place back the child. And for those that are disadvantaged, and maybe they're coming from families, and there are those disadvantages that are pressurizing that family towards the mental health issues. And I'm able to offload for them to get back on the road. And I am happy to do that, because that is why I was created, and I feel that is my purpose in this world.
Martha, too, you could just decide to coach other people and run away and, you know,
Make
Coach,
money.
you know, make your money and all that.
Is big business.
Why do you find yourself here, and what is this kind of attachment, and just how do you relate with these beautiful girls who are keen on playing, you know?
Kumbuka, she's a qualified coach.
Coach, you know?
Na timu yake ambayo anashughulika nayo sana sana ni wanawake. Wanawake. Kuna wanaume pia, lakini wanawake sana sana.
You know?
Kwa nini tafadhali?
Okay, first, I'm married to a deaf man.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, secondly, I'm also a footballer. And I found myself there. I just found myself with the deaf ladies first. So it was my first job to do. And in that process, I learned a lot from my husband to the girls. First, I had to learn sign language so that I can communicate well with them. And which was very easier for me to learn because I have one in my house. So hiyo ilinipea motisha ya kucoach hawa wasichana.
Right.
And I remember one day we went for a tournament. It was our first tournament as deaf ladies. We were called kids from Kiserian. And we won that game. It was our first game and we won.
Nice.
So the person who connected me with the ladies told me that we are forming a ladies national team, so you have to be there. He connected me to the president of Deaf Federation, and I met him, and we came for a selection. That was 2021, and my team also came the first. Kenya nzima was the first. So that is how I got the opportunity, and I thank God for that. I believe that God alinipea huyu jamaa, who is my father, the father to my two ladies, girls, alinipea na blessings. Sikuangalia disability yake that he's a deaf, but nilimwona tu as a real man and a normal man. Whereby, hata tukiwa kwa nyumba, I don't see him like a deaf man because we communicate well, we do things kama tu the normal people, yani hearing both of us. So it's a blessing to us or to me kuwa with a disabled man.
Before it got to that point where it sounded like a blessing, or it is officially now a blessing, you want to tell us that you did not go through those moments, zile ulikuwa unajisikia manze, hey, this is a burnout, this is a strain, I should change my mind, maybe I shouldn't have gotten into this?
Yeah, for the first, naweza sema tu, for a period of time, it was too hard. Ilikuwa ngumu because communication between me and them, or me and him, was hard. Because it's something you have to learn. Unafaa learn na sio kitu umezaliwa nayo. So you have to learn ndio sasa uendelee. So it was hard, but nimejikuta kwa hiyo situation na ni watu kama sisi. So God alinipea grace. Nika learn very fast na nika move on na wao.
George.
Yes.
I'm curious because you deal with, and also we'll come to you, Esther, but you deal with mostly people who have along the way found themselves, you know, a huge percentage found themselves with disability, either through surgery, through injury and such. Talk to us about what happens, especially one in the mind of the patient, in the event it's not an emergency. How does a patient, or how would a patient be able to deal with the changes they are seeing in their body, either through age or through accident or through circumstance? And then now what perhaps the family or those close to this person should start or would ideally start doing?
I always say, when it comes to trauma, for example, the accident, it's not like any other disease. Let's say, for example, pneumonia. For pneumonia, there's usually a series of, other medical conditions. There's a series of, infection here and there, and few changes there, here and there. But for someone who has gone through trauma, maybe through road traffic accident or a fall from a height.
And trauma in this case for our viewers means?
Oh, it means mostly the patients who are involved in road traffic accident,
yes,
fall from a height, maybe being cut by a machine, maybe both of their limbs or lower limbs, and so many other ways that you can have an accident here. These people, they just wake up in the morning, they are going on with their normal lives, you know, going to school, maybe a student, you're going to work, you're a dad, you're going to work, you're a mom, you're doing your normal day's job, and then all of a sudden, within minutes or seconds, your life changes. You probably get an accident, a fall, and you experience a paralysis from your shoulders down. And these people, when they come to the hospitals, they are usually very frustrated because these are people who are previously used to doing most of the things for themselves. For example, bathing themselves, going to the washroom, you know, providing for their family. And this also comes as a challenge for the people, probably the spouse, the children, and everyone close, even the friends of these people.
Okay.
Ideally, in an ideal situation, you should start from the beginning. Initially, when you receive that patient in the hospital, you should always take them through counseling from day one. It is very hard sometimes to accept the situation, maybe day one or day two, but the time you start incorporating counseling to them, talking to them through the process of, you know, surgery, if they require one, and probably what they may require in a later, you know, when they are discharged. Also, the same case comes to the caregivers who are now probably the spouse, the mothers, the fathers. As early as when they are being admitted, you need to start preparing them for the way this patient is going to be discharged, how they are going to receive and treat this person at home.
Okay.
And this really is a big challenge for the caregivers who are probably previously they were going on with their normal lives, and now they have to adjust their schedule to taking this person who is having a disability.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are due for a short break, but when you come back, I want you to, before you cross over to the rest, and even Esther, I want you to talk about the gender that quite views, you know, seeking psychological help as a weakness, and how then they can even understand that perhaps they actually need this help, okay? We are taking a short break. When we come back, we have more to discuss. Our panelists are here in studio to discuss the mental strain on caregivers and what exactly even you at home can do to those that are close to you. We are coming back in a short while. Just stay with us.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. we dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire,
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
motivate,
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
and break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
to hard lessons,
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
we cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
All right, good evening. If you're joining us right now, this is a People's Court, and tonight we focus on the mental health of the caregivers to those of us who are living with disabilities. Now, Mr. Weku, I have a question. Is it right to say that the mental health of caregivers, of people living with disabilities, has been neglected or ignored in this country? Is it right to say, or even fair to say?
Yes, I will affirmatively say yes, because caregivers are people who are volunteered to take care of people with challenges, mostly people who have had issues, PWDs, or people who are differently abled. Now, in that state, it means they are doing voluntary work, and they are actually people who are next to God. They come in before the patient are attended to by nurses. Caregivers are with them in the homes. The challenges the caregivers face are quite immense. One, let me explain what mental health is all about, so that we understand what they are missing and what they need to be helped in terms of maintaining good, or rather mental health. Mental health is a state of well-being that enables an individual to be able to function well, to be able to live well with people, to be able to work, to be able to function normally, and to be able to help the community. If a caregiver's mental health is not perfect, or he has or she has mental illness or mental ill health, for example, she could do a lot of damage to even the patient. How do they get affected, or what challenges do they face? I'll start by talking about depressed patients, number one. If the patients are depressed, they are not able to communicate, they are violent, they are abusive, these caregivers really suffer. Why do they persevere? They could be persevering because some of them may have challenges in terms of getting money. That's the only source of money, because some of them work 24 hours. So it's really a very sympathetic case. Let's come to the other issue of lack of proper training. Some caregivers hardly get time to sneak to go for colleges like other contemporary trainings where people have the opportunity to go for training, because this person is busy working 24 hours. Lack of training would expose this caregiver to stresses, because we need them to be trained in psychology or in a bit of those courses to do with psychology, so that they're able to absorb the stresses. They should have resilience, where resilience means even if she or he is mishandled by the patients or by the patient's relatives, she's able to go back to her normal life and live a proper life, because most of them have families. Yeah, so if, yes, maybe I'll continue the other areas after my colleagues have also talked.
Yeah, I want Winfred to jump in here for a bit. I mean, he talks about the importance of training, and I believe Diana was talking about how sometimes I imagine some of these injuries can be made worse because of a lack of knowledge. For example, this trauma that can be made worse. Would you care to tell us what is the current state of training among the caregivers of this country? What would you estimate that level to be?
And the affordability, maybe, if at all, there's some element to it, because then it's one thing to say that it's important to get the training, it's another to afford the training.
The training in terms of rehabilitation and habilitation. For caregivers, it's a challenge, especially for therapy. Therapies, the high-end hospitals tend to be on the higher end. The private sector and the public sector, you see, we don't have more infrastructure in terms of human resource, and also we don't have in terms of the capacity. In terms of equipment for the therapies. So most of our caregivers and what the council is currently doing or is engaging in terms of other service providers is on therapies. Because once you get into the disability club, we call it a club, and anyone can join. As the nurses have clearly said, you wake up today, you go to work, anything can happen. Because most of these disabilities are acquired based on the database that we have. People acquire disabilities in their life. So we may think you may not get a disability, wake up today, tomorrow you're not the way you woke up the same way. So in terms of affordability, it's a challenge, and also in terms of even the trainings, and that's why we focus on home-based trainings for therapies, especially for children who are born with, let's say for example, cerebral palsy, or even these other types of disability that a caregiver is able to have at home. Because we'll have some of our caregivers, if not having that proper training, you can make the disability more worse. So we are focused on the therapies. Once if you are in the hospital or even at home, you're able to continue with the therapies.
What of the resilience, and I think that was the main question, the resilience for caregivers, the trainings for resilience as well as mentorship, you know, so that at least they are stable enough mentally to handle the persons that they're handling?
One, caregivers go through a lot, especially stigma. Because many caregivers don't come out and rightfully say I have a child, or I have a guard, or you have a person within their home that has a disability. So even coming out to get that training is a challenge. And as much as there are these avenues that can be provided for most of our caregivers, the stigma around, especially within the community and our families, because most of our caregivers, based on the statistics, are the ladies or the women. who are taking care of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So you get to find people, caregivers go through a lot, even going for that training. Some of them, they're not even able to attend for the training. And even due to the stigma, they're not even able to come out there and say they would wish to be trained more on this. So with advocacy and awareness creation, and also the stigma around disability, demystifying that stigma, then we'll be good to go with the resilience part of it.
Okay.
Mr. Langat, talk to us a little bit about this aspect. So assuming somebody has found themselves as a caregiver, like she said, most disabilities are acquired, right?
Yes.
So you find yourself as a caregiver. What frame of mind does one immediately need to adopt to be able to not just manage the transition from sister, brother, wife, husband or friend to caregiver? What do we need to do for that transition to happen properly, Mr. Langat?
All right. When we talk about caregivers, they immediately jump into that caregiving role, which is almost like therapeutic role, more or less the same as what therapists and trained counselors do. And in that case, I expect that they will have a lot of resistance towards that new environment and new frame of mind. So when I look at these people who have not been trained or prepared fully to adopt that, I see a lot of priors and predispositions coming into play.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, if someone had unfinished, deeply seated issues about themselves, they may not be able to cope with that new environment of being able to offer something else. And we're talking about emotional disposition, like you're supposed to now offer empathy. Empathy is the ability to enter into that shoe and feel and experience life in a new way. And that is kind of a tall order, especially on the part that you mentioned about caregiving has it been neglected. There is a course on caregiving, which is different from counseling and mental health and psychology. And yet it's quite in a misty end, like people don't even know that it exists. And so we talk about someone who have not been trained to do that, entering into a new environment. From an amateur point of view, I expect that they are going to experience resistance and a little bit of learning and casing to do.
Yeah, and if I may, just a quick follow-up, and you can, Mr. Weku, you can jump in as soon as you jump in here.
Yes.
So what would you advise someone, for example, and I'm looking at those situations where this thing has happened suddenly. How do you, as a person who's a caregiver, how do you find a part of the day that belongs to you as a person? Because a lot of this caregiving happens 24 hours a day. How do you separate your caregiving with the rest of the life, the rest of the duties, and the rest of your personality and needs and so on? How do you do that? Mr. Langat quickly and Mr. Weku.
Yeah, okay. I'll jump in, then Mr. Langat can come in later. Okay. Most of the caregivers are doing this job on voluntary basis. Some of them could be having, and it's been found out that some of them have personal trauma, psychological trauma. They came from homes that are a bit struggling to survive. So they were not able to go for maybe contemporary courses like nursing, where they can work in hospitals. They find themselves in homes. Now, what does that mean? They have to persevere. All the environmental impact on them. And it's a bit difficult because we've had cases where some of them have been assaulted by the wives of the patients. We had a case where a caregiver was beaten by the wife because what was happening is a caregiver finds herself being able to take care of the husband. The husband had differed with the wife. Then the wife realizes the caregiver, because of proper care, she sleeps in the same bedroom with the patient because of care. But the wife comes in, raged, and starts harassing the caregiver. It's a very sympathetic case. The only way they can breathe out as a coping mechanism is they should be given some off. Arrange to have 2 caregivers, one to work 1 week, the other one who has been working to go and rest for 1 week. Then they will be able to breathe and not be able to have counter-transference, because counter-transference or transference is where a patient is able to pass her issues now to the caregiver, or the caregiver, since she has trauma from home, from the problems, she has children, or she's divorced, she can also pass her issues to the patient. So in this case, they should be given time off to go and relax.
All right.
Yeah.
Additionally, you know, when I try to bring the psychological knowledge into this, so there is an approach in counseling called cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, I like that approach better than the psychodynamic approaches or psychoanalytic approaches, which looks at the human being as having some issues from a long time ago. I like to look at this human being from the cognitive behavioral approach, and I see that this person, how they are thinking and how they are behaving, how they are adjusting to the current environment and realities of the now, it influences a lot about the interaction they have with this person in such a way that what they are feeling, how they are feeling, it's important now that you're asking about how they take a breather, it's important that they focus on their behavioral adjustment. And I talk about that, I'm actually referring to normal issues like even grooming, taking a time to even brush your teeth, shower, do some exercises, things that when you are in an environment like that, you feel incapacitated. You don't feel like that is you don't have the energy to do those extra things that improve your life. And I see the importance of that, like finding it an intentional part of you to do those small things that matter to you in terms of how you look and everything around the environment where you are.
And I see Esther is burning with a point. But Esther, before we come to you, we come to Winnie. We talk about these caregivers, you know, suffering in silence, and that's why we call them silent strains. Do you suppose that a majority finding themselves in this situation, they see a hostile environment out there? Hostile in the sense that, well, maybe if I'm going to share my problems, there are people who have more problems out there. If I'm going to tell them to come and give financial aid, I mean, everybody has their financial problem. If I'm going to talk about all these theories that are in class, realistically, it is not easy to manage them. If I'm going to talk about the environment out there, how will my boss even understand that I have to be, you know, 1 week taking care of my dad who is elderly, and then the next week come back to the office? Is the environment so hostile such that they perhaps do not see the point of, you know, going out there and doing some of these things that would otherwise be the best thing to do?
I would look at it in two ways. One, the environment. The environment, once you get into caregiving, or if you are taking care of a person, probably somebody was not on a wheelchair before. You need to adapt the whole situation. You need to adapt your homes. If you are staying in a mansion, you need to adapt the downstairs for the person. So there's a big cost implication in caregiving. The hostility, one, comes from even from the family. If this was a nuclear family, father, mother, children, once you get somebody who has, let's say, a disability, or even the elderly, they'll see as if it's a burden. You see people separating at some point, most of the points, especially for people who get into acquiring these disabilities way in life. So more it's on the environment and the attitude. So disability, we look at it in those aspects. The hostility is mainly from the family, from the community, and even from the caregivers themselves. You see, this is a new thing, the new way of life, and there is the stigma around caregiving. You're seen as a burden. In as much as you would wish to share out there, you are seen as a burden, and even you yourself as a caregiver, you see yourself as a burden. So
on that environment, before I come to Esther, I know she's burning.
Yes.
On that, just briefly in a minute, what if this quote-unquote patient was not a very nice person to the people around them?
Before they acquired.
Before they acquired.
Yeah, that's a nice question.
Before they acquired the disability, or they got into before. It would be more worse. More worse, from even the psychologists can tell us more or less the same. But in terms of the dynamics, I think it depends more or less.
Yeah, Esther, you've been burning to come. Yes.
Actually, I was actually to add on that, especially when you're let's talk about it like now. Like now, how have you been with your people? How have you been taking like your family members? Because at that point, it's where the caregiving point, even when you're aging, because you, like in my lane, I'll talk about professional caregivers, and as well, I'll talk as the family caregivers. When I do my stuff, when I go to families, I've come along families who needs professional caregiver and those that are taking care of their own. So those that are taking care of their own, at some point, there are a lot of challenges because that's where we come in and like train them on proper ways of managing a patient because now the person who is a family member is a patient. So there's this need of how you're going to manage the patient like post-hospital because caregiving point, most of them come in post-hospital. So after the hospital, how are you going to manage the patient? What are some of the factors that you should look on? What are some of the strategies that you should put in place? How are you going to communicate with the family? Because especially when, like personally, when I'm dealing with families, we have to come up with a WhatsApp group now in era of technology so that we can bring on board everything that is needed. Personally, I'm touch on ground. I've been working with families and I can totally tell you at some point it has been easy because of the strategies that I've brought on board. But when I was young at it, it was not so easy. And those strategies, is everyone aware about them? Yes or no? So those that are not aware about them, they suffer. And when I look at it, generally, there are so many people who are suffering out there and that need a lot of caregiving because of their own people who are sick.
If you're supposed to talk about, briefly, George, about the stages that perhaps you underwent to have learned this. Because then I'm imagining there's that stage where you've just known this, then there's that middle stage where you're struggling, and then there's a stage where you're probably used to the patient and therefore you can comfortably run your activities out there and still come back to this patient. What would you say about these particular stages and of what impact have they been, say to you, and are probably going to be for other people who would be introduced to this?
Okay, I started in as a very young girl. It is 10 years now. And because of passion, number one, when I was in the hospital, I was so passionate about the elderly. Reason being, most of them, they are so thankful and they are so into what you do to them. So I looked at it and I said, I'm gonna go to the aging. And in the aging field, I really feel so happy. I really feel so blessed, especially when I'm dealing with the older people. And these stages have not been easy because every year you learn, every time you learn, I have to keep on learning every day because I have to deal with different conditions because every patient has got different needs. So within these different needs, you have to handle every patient with a different aspect and also the whole family because in every family, there's those challenges and there are those family conflicts that we have come along, but we always handle them. So in these stages, I learned about caregiving from the hospital, carried on to homes, how to manage a patient by your own, how to communicate, and how even to communicate with the whole family. So within these stages, I have learned you have to be patient, you have to be calm, you have to learn to communicate well and have proper management because everyone is up to you because the patient is their own.
Okay.
Being their own, so you are the person who's supposed to report. How are you reporting? Otherwise, you're going to cause chaos in the families. So in my lane and in my line, I know so many people are watching me and those families that I have helped. And it has been so good that I have been able to come up with lines of how to manage patients well and everyone is comfortable because you have to continue with your work. Families don't have to stop their work because when you stop what you're doing, you're going to have financial strains, you're going to have burnouts and all this isolation, they'll come up in so many categories. Thank you.
Yeah, Wanjiku, before we cross over to this side, especially in the line that you're talking about, the circumstantial or situational type of disabilities that come in, at what point can one say, because say of financial challenges, we may not be able to afford a professional caregiver, and at this point, the other person has to be the breadwinner. But again, at what point is it a separation of, are you leaving me alone, or are you going to find something for us to eat?
Yes. So mostly when we receive those patients in our hospitals,
From day one, we start involving the family members through the way I said counseling and also family conference, so that we can be able to bring the families together and be able now to advise them the prognosis. By prognosis, I mean how the patient is going to progress. Is this something that is going to the patient is going to recover within a day, a week, or a month, or even something permanently? A permanent disability. So when we involve the whole family and also the friends, from day one, they are able now slowly to adjust to their new norm. Probably now start preparing before now the patient comes home. They start preparing on how they're going to plan themselves financially, and also, you know, adjust some things, maybe employment, so that they can be able to take care of this patient. But by the time the patient is also leaving the hospital, we are able to advise them on other ways they can be able to bring a source of income, to have sources of income, because we have, you know, those disability people with disability cards, which can help them to access, you know, resources out there in the community, probably things like tenders, so that they can continue with providing their families with a source of income and you know, supporting them.
Athletic Martha, before I come to you, unapoangalia hii situation, for instance, in your case, what would be, ni nini unaweza ambia watu ambao labda wanajipata even at work ama hata mahali ambapo wanaishi nyumbani, wako na watu ambao wana disability ya aina yake ile, so that then isikue mtu anasaidia vizuri nyumbani, lakini anaenda kwingine anakuwa na challenges?
Okay, to me, kila kiumbe kina right ya live in this earth, ama kwa hii dunia, kila mtu ako na right ya kuishi. So the moment unajikuta uko na mtu ako na challenge, yani disabled, try to cope with them and even to assist where you can. Like for my kazi yangu, huwa najaribu sana how to kuwa handle. I know sisi kama hearing inakuwa ni challenge kuwaelewa sana, and they want you to understand them. So unapata wakati una balance vitu zako vizuri, unaangalia hata emotionals zao, unaangalia utaihandle vipi, ndio sasa muweze kuelewana. So na urge watu, ukipatana na mtu ambaye ni disabled, awe either alizaliwa hivyo ama imempata akiwa mzima tu, just try to cope with them.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I would say is that there are no people, personally I deal with disabilities, and there are gaps. The reason why is because we have not seen a policymaker who has cerebral palsy or autism. And so the voice is not elevated. And or when you come to like the policies that have been made, let me take the National Children's Services.
Yes.
They have not captured anything about disability. So when we come to like us who are running rescue centers for people with disabilities, we are left stranded.
In terms of financing?
In terms of policy capture.
Oh, okay.
The matters that surround disability. And so these children continue being born, and the caregivers continue being in distress, and they continue abandoning, or children continue getting lost. But the policies are not friendly.
What some of the policies that you would need to be friendly, for instance?
They should be like, apart from talking about children, they should have exceptions for children with disabilities. For example, like the law of Kenya discusses or recognizes people over 18 with mental challenges as minors. But when it comes to issues of disability, that is not captured. There are many other things, even in terms of care, in terms of risk mitigation, because these children are sick. And so there are also rules that are not very friendly. They sound quite harsh when it comes to rescuing such children. And also you find that the caregiving is very strenuous. There's a lot of strain when it comes to the care work about children with disability or persons with disability. So one of the things that we use is about bringing in fun in between work, and also encouraging the people that come on board, the team, to have that team spirit, so that when you feel like it's enough, at that point you don't have like to wait for the scheduled day for you to go off. You just go off and someone takes in. That needs a lot of coordination, a lot of love, and a lot of understanding. So one of the things, the focus is focusing on training of the caregivers, because the work they are dealing with will always be strenuous. There's no pay that can be attached to care work, because what amount can you be paid for changing someone's diapers, for cleaning those wounds, for even dealing with the emotional disconnect that they have, the distress. There is no money that can be tagged. So one of the things that the caregivers have to be supported, whether it's inside the family, there's a lot that they go through, because when the person who is taking care of the people, let's say I am one of the daughters of a mother. So everybody else, maybe the other 10 children, feel that this is my mother. And the moment they walk in, there's a way they want to perceive like what is described as care. But they are not coming in to understand what you're going through as the caretaker. So you find that there's a lot of internal wars in families.
Yeah, in fact, I want us, after this short break, perhaps even Victor and my colleagues will throw to the rest of the panelists in terms of, when these people go back home, mostly in the rural areas, and all of us are back in Nairobi, who then takes care of these people? And then how do these people, do we formally reassign them the roles that they become the caregivers, and then how do they go about it, okay? We're taking a short break. We come back with more on the other side. Keep it from as well as your questions.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair in the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
to hard lessons,
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
we cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive.
All right, welcome back. Just before we went on break, we were listening to one of the Marthas who had some really, really good points to share. Now, Martha, before you come back, as you refresh your memory and as the rest of you chip in, I want us to go to a little clip that we have for you from one of our viewers who actually, was able to send in their feedback much, much earlier. Here's what they had to say.
My name is Andrew Pio, caregiver from Naivasha. We have been having a lot of challenges as caregivers in Naivasha, especially most of the time you see the people you take care of, most of them are a bit older than you. So you have to at least balance and train yourself with your age. Sometimes also they have got about hygiene. We don't have a good equipment to handle these people, and they have got different diseases. So you see you are in a high risk of maybe contaminating a disease from them. Also, another biggest challenge is also maybe the language barrier. As somebody you are trying to take care of doesn't understand some of they want to speak in their native language or a mother tongue, but you don't know their mother tongue, so you end up maybe not having poor communication skills towards that person. Also, we have got general challenges in terms of numeration. Maybe you go take care of somebody. Most of people see that one as just a voluntary job, but they don't understand also you as a caregiver, sometimes also you need to pay some bills or do something. Also, most of the time, you see, there are a lot of work that we do as caregivers, especially when maybe this is a person who cannot do anything. You end up handling every situation. So sometimes when a part is very traumatizing, taking this person even to the toilet, this person is older than you see? So you see yourself maybe in a very awkward situation whereby you are handling somebody who is older by you by far, but it's possible to sometimes to go ahead even to see their nakedness and everything. So
right, these are things that we actually go through. And Martha, just before Mr. Weko comes in and the rest, I want you to talk about that. And I know you're making another point, but could you, as you make that, address this thing? There's some people that find themselves, and this is a true story. Somebody came up to me and told me, because of an acquired disability, they had to look after their own mother. And the extent of the service that they needed to give to their own mother included washing the mother, helping the mother with the bodily needs, like using the washroom and so on. This is, and you know how we are about the taboos as Africans, about seeing the nakedness of your parents, for example. And the situation was that there was no one else. Talk to us also a little bit about the psychological impact on a person like that, and what that then needs to be done for such a person to be able to live a healthy, normal life. Mull on that as we proceed. Martha, please.
Okay. I would wish to say that one of the things that caregivers need to know, that they have to be psychologically prepared to deal with the care work. So if you feel you're not ready, it's not good to engage, because it is going to be very strenuous on you and also on the person you're taking care of. So the focus first is preparing, like a family conferencing, where you discuss the problem at hand as a whole unit, so that everybody knows their role, and also everybody knows their boundaries. Because a lack of boundaries on the care work is what makes it strenuous. I might be loving it to take care of my parent, but when my sister comes in and crosses the boundaries and hurts me, it hurts the patient. So it is good to have to be psychologically prepared, that it's not easy, and also pray and ask God to give you the strength every day, because what you need to do is have the positive vibes with the person that you're taking care of. If you create that bond, you'll also enjoy it in the process. But if you look at it as, such a black thing, it is still going to be that, from your mind to the actions. And it is also going to hit back on you, because what you give to the world, you receive it back in double portion. So the best thing that I would tell everybody that is taking care of either a person with disability or a person who is in need of care, they have to accept the situation is here with us, and I have to deal with it. Because everybody, even without the disability and the care work and everything, life is about how you take it in your mind and what is in your heart.
Two things on that very note, maybe. There's the element of caregiver burnout. Yeah. We all understand. There's also that element of compassion fatigue, which is very crucial. Yes. And this, cuts across to the nurses, and sometimes you actually even get to encounter them, and perhaps because of the, caregiving aspects and the patients that they handle, that they almost know this. Is it okay? Is it in order to get to some point where you feel like there's that burnout? You no longer have compassionate and compassion, and you sort of feel like, in as much as you started at a point where you said, what, this is my mom. I must accept that this situation is here. I am psychologically aware that I am the person to handle this, and I am in good state to handle it.
And that is why there's need of a family conference to understand the state of the situation, because you need the change. Even us, like we are taking care of children, we don't even know who gave birth to such children. Some we know, some we don't know, some are lost, and their families are looking for them. We are also looking for them. And it's not easy in the process. But even in that situation, I would not take care of a child from January to December. So I have also brought other families to work with me, so that we can also have a breather and break and have these children being taken care of by other people as we get the breather, so that we don't also break down.
How long would a breather for you take?
It depends on the child and the family that takes up that child, because some of them don't have a lot of time, and some of them will take even like a normal break where people break from school, the school breaks. Some families can take a whole month. Others will take even that 3 days. But you need it more than you know it, because about issues of emotions, you cannot even be told. You will feel it. You are experiencing it. And that's why there needs to be a very good plan of care work. And in a situation where the people that are taking care of the same, let's say like same people, you need to really come into terms with each other, because you need each other. Like you feel today you have experienced that patient, and the patient has the negative energy on you. You just take up your hand, leave the stage, and let the other person take over so that you can also take a breath.
Okay. Just to add on what she's saying, I want to emphasize on the safety of the caregivers. Caregivers need to be vaccinated against hepatitis B. In case a patient is infected, when you are handling that patient without proper equipment, you are likely to be infected. Number two, the caregivers need to have equipment. Who is supposed to come up with equipment? The family members. Let me talk about the members of the family, because family starts, then the global village comes in. Without the family, there is no world. Within the family, there is what we call intergenerational trauma. If you do not take care of the elderly, there is intergenerational trauma. Your children will not take care of you if they don't see you taking care of your elderly parent, your mother or your father. Whether he was good or he was bad, it is a responsibility that you take care of the elderly. There is what we call elder abuse. Elder abuse is now recognized by World Health Organization. If an elderly goes to report that her children have neglected her or him, they are likely to be prosecuted. Finally, elders are dying in their homes because the children have stratified, they have gone all the skies, they are all over, they are very senior people, but they forget that they were brought to this world. What is happening with you? Where are you when the parents are dying in the homes? Maybe you have left them in the hands of the caregiver. That caregiver gets burnout, as we have said. That caregiver also has a life to live. Do not neglect the elderly and leave them with the caregivers only. Let me now come professionally. When a patient comes to the hospital where I look at the interest of the welfare of the patients, the first thing is I call a conference, like our sister said there. That conferences, they really help. What are the issues that come up in these conferences? You'll hear a wife saying, I differed with my old man, or rather my husband, and now he is incapacitated. Now this is the time I will show him that alikuwa ananichezea. Surely that is very wrong. Because if you do that and you're talking, your children are hearing you, some of them are on the side of the father, some of them are on your side. Number two, issues to do with the past. In psychology, we say forgiveness is what summarizes a bad relationship. Forgive the elderly. If in that conference, forgiveness is very necessary because this man, he made a mistake, he is now sick, he is aware. When he recovers, he will change. That conference is very important. Finally, I want to talk about the wages for the caregivers, be it an employed caregiver or the caregivers at home. Let me start with the employed caregiver. I would want the government to come up with a policy that protects the caregivers. How much money should they earn? And how should they be protected in case they are attacked by members of the family? Which law protects them? Number two, let me come to the caregivers within the families. Can the family members sit and agree to take turns of taking care of their mother if they have employed someone? We have had disagreements where someone says, I sent my father 10,000 last month. Now that he's sick, let my sister take over. And the brother disappears. The sister gets annoyed, and now they resort to selling. Let's sell land, let's do ABCD. That is very wrong. Finally, these elders who come, we say, let them stay with us in the homes, in Nairobi, in Kisumu, and the old elderly is insisting she wants to stay at home so that she can see her garden, she wants to see her chicken, she wants to see her house, and that is what will prolong her life. Support her, because the moment you start arguing with her, you are just bringing that old person's health down. As a geriatric psychologist, I believe the elderly are not understood in society. Anytime they start being violent or they start being harsh to the children, they say, Madheo unatuletea ujuaji, wewe ni mkali. No, they are going through a process. It's a psychological process and it's life. Once you age, you will start going down. Your graph starts going down. So the family needs to understand. That is why we are saying, the way the sister said there, taking care of the elderly, it's an experience on its own.
Okay.
Can we take courses to do with geriatric, how we take care of the elderly? They will enjoy their lives. Thank you.
How do you get to know as a caregiver that you're now losing it? Because sometimes it even happens without your knowledge, that perhaps you're becoming now rough on this, a patient, you have no idea, perhaps rough on the people around you.
I can see Mr. Langat is eager to answer that.
No, I mean, the manifestations of psychological disturbance would be very obvious, like irritability, things like fatigue. Now, you mentioned about compassion fatigue, where you are unable to offer that empathy or compassion to the person you're taking care of. But then there is also the fatigue, the general overwhelm, where you're feeling like, I don't feel like, it's very it's manifested like even in terms of like your ability to join the larger society through like events. People call you for events and you promise that I will join you for that hike or something, then you don't. You just sleep in the house. And I think that is probably part of the manifestations. And even changing appetite, and even it affects your sleep as well.
You asked something that is very crucial, and I don't know whether...
Yes, there is a question he asked.
Yes.
About how to deal with that, how to deal with the psychology of your situation when you are a caregiver and then it is become too much. And I think that was the question.
Yes.
All right.
He's handled a show here, and I don't know whether he remembers. There was a lady who came here. He was, not able. Would we call it? I don't want to call it. She wasn't capable of hearing, basically hearing impairment. Yeah. And then there was a child who is a caregiver to this mother, and sometimes they have to go to the gynecologist, and it's actually the child to explain some of this uncomfortable things, and you want to ask yourself, how are they managing?
Yeah, there is something we've been talking about here from Martha. She mentioned an approach in psychology where she mentioned bringing positivity and fun into the caregiving aspect. And now, when I looked at that, yes, a very nice approach. There's a new approach in psychology now called positive psychology, looking at life from a positive angle. But then I look at it now differently, just not to differ, but to just bring another aspect of psychology, where we look at human emotions. There is a reason why we have emotions that are not positive. The emotions of disgust, fatigue, hunger, all that. There is a reason why those emotions are there inside of you, and you're supposed to experience them. Now, when you look at life positively alone, you are negating or you are reinforcing something that is affecting the whole conversation, the elephant in the house right now. We're having conversation in Africa where there is a lot of cultural connotation, whereby you look at these caregivers, they are brought up in a culture that brings them and nurtures them, that they are supposed to feel strong and resilient. You see, that is counterintuitive because we are, from psychological point of view, we want these people to experience vulnerability, to recognize that I am fatigued or I'm experiencing anger.
It's okay to be tired.
Okay. Now,
it's
okay to experience that emotion is something that we are like running away from, which is where I wanted now to dwell on by saying that we should allow these people to experience anger and experience fatigue and all those emotions that we are running away from.
All right,
I think we can get to the closing remarks.
Yeah, I think we can, listen, folks, this is a big conversation. And as we like to say, it's bigger than the time that we have. But in the little time that is left, remember we gave them an assignment. What is that one thing you can leave Kenyans with? And I think we should start with the other Martha. The other Martha.
The other Martha.
Martha wa soka.
The other Martha.
Martha wa mabao. Over to you. A message to Kenyans.
Okay, to all Kenyans who are listening and watching us, we urge you, when you meet these elderly people and disabled, kindly take care of them if you can. And ni wenzetu, so we can't do away with them. And again, for the deaf people, when you see us hearing tukiwa karibu na nyinyi, we are not there for money. Wengine huwa wanadhani like for us tukienda ball ama tukiwa pamoja na wao during sports, they think that us hearing are there for money. No. Deaf cannot do without hearing. The same, there is one way we can support each other.
Okay.
So wasione tunaenda pale juu ya pesa.
Juu ya pesa.
They are our brothers and our sisters, and they have to we have to communicate well to go in the same page.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Diana, your quick point to Kenyans?
All right. My point should go to the policymakers and our government. Majority of these patients who acquire disability, they require rehabilitative services. For example, in Kenya, we only have one spinal injury rehabilitation center, which doesn't accommodate as many people, many patients as we'll need to. If they can be able to build these rehabilitation centers in different towns or even in the counties, so that we can be able to help these people who have disability even before they go back to their homes. So already they are prepared to do even most of the things for themselves in these rehabilitation centers before they're even sent back home. Because most of the time you find that they come from the hospital straight to homes, and it's a very big adjustment that is required.
All right, right. Esther?
My parting shot would go to every family, because in families is where we find need. And if you're looking for caregivers, what I can say, personally, I'm on social handles. My name is Esther, health coach, and I always want to train and come up with better strategies like plan of care, how you're supposed to take care of your own people at home, daily plan of activity, and also feeding. So don't go an extra mile suffering. Well, we are here to support, and we really want to do this to our elderly people, to the sick, and to everyone who is not well. So don't feel like you're left out. When you want to break, kindly talk to us, and we are there to help you. Thank you so much, even for this opportunity.
There was a point you had mentioned about the diapers.
Yeah.
If you could talk to us about that as well.
Okay, also there's another point I would also want to talk about the diapers. Most patients are really suffering out there because not everyone can afford, because like a pack of 10 goes for around 1,200. And you can imagine that pack of 10, it can only be worn like maybe 2 days. So you can imagine 1,200, how many families can afford? I would request the government to come up with a better strategy and a way to support the people who are unwell, so that at least they can also
opportunity to offload. So there's the Dialogue Powerhouse. We have a studio. It has just been completed, and we are on there. You'll find us as Otugi Angels Community on all social media pages. And come and shout. There's an unjudgmental area. You can come, scream, shout. Nobody's going to judge you. And if you want to share your story, you can get into the studio and share your story to be able to help somebody else. Right. And on 2nd of November, we have a day for offloading in Makutano Secondary School next to Otugi Angels. Come enjoy, come offload, come shout out, come jump, come bring out the childhood in you and forget all the stresses that you have gone through. Thank you.
All right.
Sure. All right. My parting shot will be on psychoeducation, which can both be taken by the government to amplify the voices surrounding caregiving and the vulnerability that comes with it. And speaking of these conversations, like the way Utuki is doing, my recommendation also would go to TV47, so that like you can segment, like you can talk about caregiving for people with dementia, like specific case scenarios, so that like the way you're saying that conversations is more than the time allocated, like we can delve more into the very nitty-gritties of a particular caregiving situation. All right, that will be, is that like the last time I'm going to be speaking now?
Yes.
All right, so on social media you can find me. I also host a show on storytelling, just like Uduki. My name is Mika Langat. You can find me on all socials with the name.
Okay.
Yep. So I don't think it would be a parting shot, but I think this is the beginning of advocacy for TV47 to invite the council. I'm talking now on behalf of the government as a National Council for Persons with Disabilities. We do have many programs that are going to even alleviate this burden on caregivers. We have education support for persons with disabilities, for learners with disabilities. These are scholarships that we give. We also have the cash transfers that are there. The elderly have, the orphan and the vulnerable. Also for persons with severe disabilities we have assistive devices that, as I said earlier, persons with disabilities or families that have a person with disability, there's an extra cost that goes there. So
how do they reach you?
How do they reach us? We are across the 47 counties. Our headquarters is at the...
On social media, for example?
Social media, NCPWD.
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 Okay.
We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. We are
same name.
Yeah, same name.
Right.
NCPWD as the abbreviations, not NCPD, because that's a different body, government body. Yes, as Esther had alluded on the diapers, will be very soon. We'll be having a program. We have a very new program on autism where the parents or the caregivers, as I said earlier, came out due to the burden that they have. We'll be having diapers for persons who have disabilities and also medication. We'll be having therapies. We are working closely with the new transition, the NHF and the SHA. We are working closely on how to go about the rehabilitation part of it.
So they can get that information through
through social media. Even they can reach us out across the 47 counties. We are a government office. We are based in all the government offices.
Excellent.
So thank you. And as advocacy, we'll be celebrating the month of October. Cerebral palsy.
Kabisa. Mr. Weku, one word. Please, we're out of time. Totally out of time. We shall.
My word is that families, when one of you or the head of the family gets a disability, that is not the time to take advantage of him and take away the money from him. That's my parting shot. Finally, we are based along Gong Road, that is Luton Hospital.
All right.
I want to give you the telephone number is 0726 51 000. That is 0726 51 000.
All right.
And thank you so much for TV47.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for the time you took to come and share with us your experience, your insight, your understanding. And I know people have been blessed out there. Asanteni sana. God bless you. Please.
All right. Well, of course, there are a lot of messages, but we can't go through all of them because the director is on our neck. We appreciate your feedback. This one who says that I am a double caregiver in that she takes care of the husband as well as the mother to the husband. You cannot begin imagining what I go through. That's rather unfortunate. We can only wish you nothing but the best. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you. Of course, we throw it over to George to close it.
Indeed, we thank you for your tremendous feedback. I'm George Maringa. Alfred Weku, thank you so much for joining us, as well as Mika Langat and the wonderful lady on the other side. Also, the two mothers, thank you so much for joining us. Esther, and also you, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. I am George Maringa. And of course, this is the beginning of the many conversations that we're going to have to segment even for those with dementia, those with physical disability, and also other forms of disability. We thank you for joining us and watching. We'll see you next time. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Good night.